Hi everybody, another absolutely gorgeous day here in Paradise. And if you're wondering where Paradise is, it's in Blackburn in northwest England. Everyone knows that though, I suppose. And now that the obligatory weather update is over with, let me tell you what's coming up in today's video. Basically, I am going to be tidying up a lot of things, power washing, and it all sounds very exciting, doesn't it? But the purpose of doing that is to clear certain things, get things ready and prepared for the planting. So I'm going to be planting lots of palms and exotics in today's video. So stay tuned and let's have a little fun. There's also going to be a couple of random little videos in here as well, very short ones. For example, this one, which I'll put in first, which is of the root system of the Trachycarpus wagnerianus, which I bought from B&M a couple of months ago. I've planted that at my mum and dad's house, so it's not in my garden, but yeah, let's check it out. Here's the first of the B&M Trachycarpus wagnerianus, the waggies that I'm planting, £37.50, hand for scale, and I know people will be interested to see the root system. So there we have it, a nice, very healthy root system. It's been in this pot for some time by the looks of it. I bought these bedding plants, I think I showed them in an earlier video. They were tiny little plugs, and they came about a month ago, and I put them into individual pots and they've grown away nicely. But because we've had a chance of frost from then until now, I've kept them right up against the house. But now I think the risk of frost has passed, so I'm gonna get them, pull them away from the house, get them into the sun a little bit. They receive absolutely zero amount of sunshine against the house there, so I'm going to edge them slowly towards the end of this patio, where they will receive some sun, and then get them planted into the garden. There we go. Now, of these 72 seedlings, which came in these absolutely tiny plugs, I'm amazed to say that only 2 have died. Unfortunately, on the far left and far right of this shot here, there's 2 that have died, but the rest actually look pretty good. Now, I've made a bit of a schoolboy error for probably the 100th time. I haven't labelled what's what, so I've got absolutely no idea what is growing here. Okay, I've had a busy day and I have power washed, not quite everywhere. I'm working my way along the garden, but I've moved all these off of the patio so that they don't make a mess of the patio anymore. Now I've power washed it, but also they got a good watering, or drenching really, when I was power washing. Now over here, this is where the table is, or was. We'll be going back there soon. But I wanted to do something better here because the gabions that I built a few years ago now, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, have collapsed. The wire has rusted and they weren't really built in a way that they are at all self-supporting or completely reliant on that wire. So what I'm going to do, I've potted up lots of palms and other exotic looking plants here, and I'm gonna pop them in that gap. But first I need to power wash, and we're on a slight slope heading that way, so I need to move these out of the way so I can start over there and wash everything down that way. That's the area cleared, so I'm going to move everything back now, and as I do it, I'm going to give it a little bit of a tidy up. So I'm going to take off some of these browning leaves on the chamerops, humilis, vulcano. I'm going to remove some of these dead leaves on the Fatsia, japonica spider's web, and we've got the odd dying leaf on the cordyline and the phormium. So get them looking nice, and I'll show you what they look like in a second. Okay, one sizable pile of trimmings later, and it was quite a tight squeeze, as I expected. I've got all the plants here. And I think that looks really good. I'd love to say that I thought it through really carefully and put the Fatsia japonica spider's web, which needs a bit of shade, right there tucked up in the hedge. Yeah, in fact, let's go with that. Let's go with that. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to regret this or not, because everything that's planted here, including these recent purchases from B&Q, aren't hardy. Cordyline Charlie Boy says hardy to -5. Phormium Tricolour also says hardy to -5. I think that's probably quite a standard label, field on the label that B&Q don't really change all that much. So each one of these plants could do with a bit of protection in winter. Now, it is fairly secluded, so I might get away with it for most of the winter, and just during the real cold spells, I might bring them against the wall of the house or in that little tucked away corner there, and I might fit a couple of them or a few of them in the greenhouse. I won't get them all in there. And by the way, if you saw my video of taking everything out of the greenhouse, I finally got it all back in. Well, not all of it, because a lot of it's been being planted out. But I've potted everything up. It's actually looking really good. I'm really pleased with how it looks in there. Lots of Washingtonia robustas, giving them nice big pots. One's been put in the bin. But yeah, and we've got some pumpkins coming as well. So now everything's clean. Feels like a big relief. I've got some planting to do. You can see various pots dotted about over in the borders as well. No, not over there. Anyway, there's 5 or 6 over there. But I just wanted to show this area now. I think it looks quite cool. So we've got a lovely line of pots there, much nicer than that ruined stone wall. I've moved the table and chairs out a little bit so that we can easily get all the way around, and we've got the rug, which really ties the room together. If you know, you know. And apart from planting all these things into the beds, the main thing I need to do, and you can't really see because of the sunlight, is paint these raised beds, because they look terrible. Here we go, we can see them here now. So I paint them every single year, and well, every single spring, and by autumn really they look pretty bad, and then by this time they look absolutely terrible. So I've bought some new paint. Someone recommended it. It was £70 for a 5-litre tin. So it better be good. But apparently it's going to be really good, and it's going to last a lot longer than 6 months. So I'll be giving that a go over the next few days or week or so. Now, I thought this cordyline was a goner, because the central growth towards the end of winter was completely brown. I cut a load of it off, but I did then notice soon afterwards that actually it was pushing this new growth. And here we have it. We can see it's a bit funny looking, but there's strong new growth there, and a nice spider as well. And that will very soon, in the next few weeks, push out completely and have a new set of leaves coming. So I'm quite pleased. I knew it would survive. I didn't think it would die altogether, but I thought it would regrow from the base. So we'll have to see how it looks with the old leaves, which are still intact, and the sort of mid-aged leaves, which are all kaput, and then the new leaves, which are a bit funny looking now. But we'll have to see how it looks in probably about a month's time. This Phoenix canariensis, which I bought from B&M Bargains, is going to go into this spot here. I've dug up the old chamerops humilis, which was there and which died. I gave it all last year to recover, but it didn't. But I'm a little bit concerned about this. I mean, this is only summer bedding anyway, so not a huge deal, but the lower leaves look to have dried up. And then the next few are okay, but this one here, which is, you know, a relatively young one, has also completely dried up. So I'm going to take those off, and I think it's because it was really difficult to water this pot. Firstly, the soil is actually proud of the pot, so as soon as it dries out, it's almost impossible to water it. What I had to do in the end was put it in an old ice cream tub and fill that with water, and then sort of submerge it in there, and that has helped it recover a little bit and stopped it from dying completely. The other thing to quickly point out on this Phoenix canariensis is that it's got a good root system, and I've had a look to see if there's any bugs in here, because I did hear a couple of reports, or maybe just one actually, of some bugs in here, and there's just a slug. Nothing to be concerned about there at all. So that's about to go in the raised bed. Okay, it's a few days later, actually maybe a week later, and you can just about see in there some lovely flowers on the trachycarpus fortunei. It's holding a lot of leaves, which actually I want to cut some off at the bottom. But anyway, on to the exciting stuff. So I've painted the raised bed and I've planted lots of plants. So talking about the raised bed first before I forget, this is the product I've used, Saddle in Super Deck Satin, and this was a 5 litre tin. It was about £70 or thereabouts, and I was actually able to do 3 coats, which quite surprised me, but I think it's looking awesome. I don't know if I'd pick matte over satin next time. I'm not sure if that is actually an option, but I think, you know, as far as it goes, that looks pretty awesome. So pleased with that. I need to untie this cordyline and various other things which I tied up. There has been a little bit of rubbing and painting on plants, unfortunately. It's just the way it goes. There is, you know, not much we can do about it. But let me show you all the plants that I've planted, because there's probably about 10 or so of them. So this canary date palm, this is the one which I bought from B&M. It looked a lot bigger when it was in the pot, didn't it? But I'm pleased with it nonetheless. I have got some mechanical damage on this leaf, unfortunately. So it's still green, so I haven't cut it off yet. But I might have to. In fact, I've got it on that one as well. Not quite sure what's happened there. But hopefully that will start growing nicely and put out at least a couple of leaves this summer. I've also planted several of these Washingtonia robusta palms, and again I'm just hoping for a couple of leaves this year. So I've got one there, and I've got one here as well amongst these flowers. I think these weren't in flower last time, so these always look great. I'm pretty sure these were self-seeded. It's effectively a weed, but actually looks quite nice, I think, in these beds, and they're spreading as well. So actually taking over this Washingtonia robusta a little bit there, but that's got 2 nice leaves on it, plus another one emerging, and this has been pushing out over the past few days, so it's definitely on the move. This lily was already here. I can't see any lily beetle on it, which is good news. Then I've got another Washingtonia robusta here, which I've planted, which is actually a double. And another cordyline that needs untying over there, now that the paint's dry. So this area is looking pretty cool, I think. And it's ready for a barbecue. Now, unfortunately, we have actually bought a barbecue. And I say unfortunately because I feel guilty now. This good weather's going to come to an end just as we bought a barbecue. So it's kind of my fault. I knew it'd happen, but I didn't nonetheless. We've had one barbecue. It was a roaring success. But unfortunately, that's it now for the summer, I think. We've had a good run of weather. Now I've planted Fatsia japonica spider's web here in quite decent shade there. That is receives very little sunlight, maybe a tiny bit in the morning. Now I need to remember where I planted everything. Aha, here's a musa basjoo. So this is the one that the bigger plant company very kindly gave me. And as it's my biggest musa basjoo, I thought I'd plant it out. And can you see I've put it in kind of semi-shelter as well. So hopefully over winter I can protect that. It won't look too unsightly from the house because it's hidden by this trachycarpus. But from the garden, it will look pretty good during the summer. Loads of manure down on that, as you can see. And then behind it, further into the shade, is another Fatsia japonica spider's web. So I'm trying to repeat some of the plants, the same plants through this border. Here I've put in, this Fatsia went in last year and that's looking really good actually. But I put in my first colocasia pink china here. So that is starting to grow. It overwintered well, and actually is that a second, looks like there's a second kind of pup or a second plant coming as well. And I also planted this phormium. Now I'm not quite sure what variety it is, but I've had it in a pot for a long time and I don't really have anywhere to put it, another pot, so I thought I'd plant that in a gap which I had there. I formerly had a Christmas tree in this area where you can see the stump for it there. So I thought I'd fill this in a bit. Made a start last year with the Fatsia japonica. That's just a standard green one, and I've carried on filling it in this year. Now I've got another Fatsia japonica spider's web here, next to the tennis ball, which I haven't planted yet. That's still in its pot, and again that's in even more shade, because I want to do something here. I'm not quite happy with this area. It doesn't look very exotic. This is one of those trees. It's a type of willow, but I bought it. You buy it as one, a tiny plant. Well, it's quite tall, like it's maybe a meter tall, but it's got a small kind of form to it, and it's just got too big. So I'll probably take that out, plant the Fatsia and maybe something behind it as well. Another cordyline would look quite good there at the back of the border. Anyway, that's to come. There's another Fatsia japonica spider's web there, which again is going to go, it's still in the pot now, but it's going to go in the border there. I'm just deciding whether to take this little tree out. I think I probably will, because it's looking a bit brown and not very nice actually. So I'm probably going to do that before I plant it. And then down here, more balls everywhere, but there is a Tetrapanax rex which I've planted here. So this is the first one that I've planted out into the garden, so keen to see how it does. And it's got some space there to grow and nothing above it, so yeah, hopefully that will look pretty good by the end of the year, and then even better next year. So that's probably it for this week. We'll finish with another shot of the raised bed. Look at that, looking awesome, isn't it? It looks brand new. That is probably about 8 or so, maybe, probably not 10, but 8 or 9 years old. And it is rotting in places. And I've replaced a couple of the tops. I think, was it this one I replaced? But you can see, it's the tops mainly. A couple are looking a bit ropey, so they might need replacing at some point. But overall, it looks fantastic, and I'm really happy with it. So now I've done some of the bigger jobs in the garden, I can mow the grass again. I can carry on watering until it rains at the end of the week, because I bought that barbecue. And then I can think about some more planting. I think I might have 1 or 2 gaps, but yeah, I do need to take a few things out as well. So that's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching, if indeed you still are.